To conclude the event, we are going to have an agripreneur fast pitch competition, and it will be fast-ish. The pitchers will each get 5 minutes to sell their company to the judges, and then they will receive 5 minutes of feedback, criticism, whatever the judges have to say, and then we'll move on to the next pitcher. And before we start, I want to have the judges, Adam, you're exempt, give a 30-second introduction.
Sure. Thanks, Robert, and thanks for having us here. I'm Sam Earle of LFS. We're a tech solution making a market, connecting to high-volume wholesale buyers, existing purchasing systems, and showing demand down to suppliers. So an entrepreneur and been through this many times myself, so happy to be up here.
Hi, my name is Nick Groff, and I am, I guess, a serial entrepreneur and investor. I started my first company back in 1995, a company called Firefly that pioneered personalization. We sold it to Microsoft and built something called .NET, which is the platform on which Microsoft does just about everything online. Then started a second company called People PC, which we grew into the 5th or 6th largest ISP in the country and sold to Earthlink. And then most recently sold our third business called SpotRunner. And the beginning process of putting together a fund to invest in companies, including businesses in this space.
All right, so now let's bring up the first pitching company, and let's see if we have any home runs in here. So I want to have Miguel Jardine from VermiSoks come up. Here's that easy one. All right. Good luck.
Thanks. Hold on. Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here. My name is Miguel Jardine. I am the CEO of VermiSoks, a sustainable urban agriculture company in Phoenix, Arizona. We have a patent-pending system for converting food waste into fresh, locally grown organic produce. So the system that we have is called the VermiSoks Virtuous cycle, and it was designed from the ground up to capitalize on a huge opportunity in the food industry. So presently in the United States, we waste, earlier there was that question of 30 or 40%. It's 40% of our food supply is actually wasted. This translates to an economic loss of $165 billion, which most businesses, restaurants, hotels, resorts, grocery stores, just accept as the cost of doing business. This is something that we just don't think needs to be there. So the virtuous cycle is this process by which we collect food waste, we liquefy it, and that gets turned into VermiSoks worm wine. Now that worm wine is then drip irrigated into the VermiSoks. We don't use any water. Everything, the VermiSoks garden is actually completely portable, it's organic, and it's completely fed from the worm wine. That allows us to grow completely organically without doing any digging, any tilling, any amending of the soil, and as I said before, without any watering. Now, we harness the natural power of earthworms, and we simultaneously are able to grow food and cultivate soil. Hold on a sec. Okay, so our facility, which we do all of this work in, is called the VermiSoks Wine Cellar. In it, we're able to process 20 tons of food waste in an 8-hour day. In Phoenix, we generate 1,400 tons of food waste every day, so this gives you an idea of the market availability that we can still scale to. The facility will be able to generate a minimum of $6.2 million in revenue with an operating profit margin of 19%. Now, we already have customers. We have 4 of the 5 Whole Foods stores in the Phoenix metropolitan area. We also have Chipotle. They just selected us to handle 27 of their stores in Phoenix. We have a 27-acre Hyatt resort and spa, as well as 2 Kimpton hotel properties. This is the team that helps me manage the business on a day-to-day basis, as well as to navigate the challenges of a startup. Catherine is a startup veteran of an online real estate brokerage called Redfin that ultimately ended up getting venture funding from Draper Fisher Jurvetson. She has an incredible background in being able to really understand what the market is looking for. Lindsay has 15 years of experience in bookkeeping, human resources, and office management. She actually makes sure that we stay in compliant with everything. And Lisa and Chris actually bring about 40 years of experience in business analytics, logistics, and operations. We also get an incredible amount of guidance and assistance from Duncan Family Farms. They are the 3rd largest grower of organic leafy greens in the United States, as well as guidance from our angel investors on any given day on various issues. The key to take away with VermiSoks is that we're incredibly scalable, completely sustainable, and we're absolutely relevant. We are useful in any community around the world that generates waste or eats food. So I think that qualifies as a halfway decent killer app. Anyway, that's my pitch. Thank you for listening, and I'm ready for questions.
So I have 2 questions. One is, what is the technology that enables this to happen other than earthworms, or maybe they're part of it? And then 2, can you give us a sense of sort of the ROI for one of your customers? You know, what do they pay you? How much waste do you take from them? How much food do you think that generates or does?
Yeah, actually, let's just talk about one. So let's take Whole Foods, for instance. We have multiple revenue sources. They pay us to take their food waste away. And we've actually designed a program called the Offsets Program, in which we actually determine how much food waste they're generating, and then we size the garden accordingly. This allows them to now have a completely cost-neutral way of dealing with their waste. In the case of Whole Foods, the 4 stores are actually generating about 20 tons of waste a week. That's something that they pay us for. But at the end of the 6-month period, which is about how long it takes us to use the socks, grow food in it, and then harvest the soil, they're actually quite interested in the soil because that soil then gets sold back in Whole Foods. So part of that, we give them a rebate, so it's completely cost neutral. And the rest of that, they're actually able to gain a profit from their waste. One other question that you asked, what's the ROI? I always have to dumb that down because it scales up so quickly that it's hard to really believe. But as I mentioned before, oh no, I did not mention this, we're totally over capacity right now with the equipment that we have. We're actually looking to raise $1.2 million just to upgrade the equipment, deal with inventory, and have working capital. But the wine cellar is actually going to have revenues of $6.2 million a year. That's just to begin with. Thereafter, it actually doubles, and we have an operating margin of 19%.
So you said that you can do 20 tons per day with the current facility?
We can do, no, with the new equipment, we'll actually be able to do 20 tons per 8-hour day. Okay. And if you do the math, that means we can actually increase our capacity simply by adding shifts.
Okay, and can you go back, because Adam asked a question about IP,
sure.
And I'd be curious to understand what the technology is.
So the patent that we've submitted for, and I just got an update from our patent attorney, it's already gone through the International Patent Office, and they've essentially said that we can fast track it, is on the entire cycle. So it's the process of collecting waste, liquefying it, so that you can actually accelerate the entire composting process. We're about 12 times faster than traditional composting. And if you liquefy it and feed it to earthworms, that's us.
How scalable and capital efficient are you, given that you need buildings and trucks and all of that? How can you replicate this, and how scalable is it?
It's very scalable. One of the first things that we, when I designed the entire system, I really was looking for existing technologies that could just work very well together. So as far as waste hauling is concerned, that market's out there. So whatever community we go into, we can very easily outsource that hauling piece so that it comes to us. And then as far as capital efficiency, as I just mentioned, we have the ability to add shifts. By adding more secondary grinders, which is part of the way that we do the liquefaction, we can actually work in parallel and process more waste in a given day.
Are any companies like Waste Management or any of the big ones looking at monetizing waste in any ways?
They are. Unfortunately, the way that they're looking at doing it is to cap landfills and then siphon off the methane to generate electricity, which is great, but in my particular perspective, we shouldn't be generating a problem in the first place just to try to monetize it. So that's the real beauty of the virtuous cycle. We completely divert all of that food waste. That 20 tons that Whole Foods is generating every week never hits a landfill. And it's used to actually cultivate soil, a product that they can sell in their stores. And it's used to grow food that we're working with them. Earlier, GitGap was mentioned, on getting growers certified so that they can actually grow food that ends up back in the store.
That's a wrap.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Very impressive.
Sorry, before I call up the next pitchers, this is the sound you'll hear if the 5 minutes elapse. And then also I wanted to say that after all the pitchers are done, the judges are going to convene, and then we'll announce at the cocktail reception who the first and second prize winners are. So without further ado, I introduce you to Ashwin Mudaliar and Joshua Rosen of Fresher.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Ashwin Mudaliar. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Fresher.com.
Hi, I'm Joshua Rosen, the CEO and founder of Fresher.com. Fresher.com is a cloud-based e-commerce marketplace for buyers and sellers of fresh food of any size along the supply chain. And it's a really, really big market, both nationally and globally. One of the biggest problems that we face today is food waste, and if there's a path to eradicate it, the fastest might be through a better supply chain. The way to make that supply chain better is capture the data so that it's visible. And once we capture that data, we can make it available to any of the players along the supply chain. The Fresher solution for approaching this is to build a platform that handles any information coming in, whether it's mobile, web-based desktop browser, or feature phones, and then streamline that information to get the right buyers connected with the right sellers and make it geographically desirable for both parties. Our business model is very straightforward. It has to do with transaction fees. We're offering a freemium version similar to LinkedIn where everybody can access the platform. Moving forward, buyers who want the feature of making the transactions online, which is a very important part of working with the farmers, getting them paid, can do that. We also enable them to do direct marketing to specific buyers. And in the future, we're going to have upgraded features, a premium version, which will be a subscription-based.
And actually, our team has been together for about 11 months now, and we're already demonstrating our technology and generating revenue, which in this case is actually kind of embarrassing because last week we had our first transactions to the system and we actually forgot to set up our bank account, so that was kind of awkward. But we're working with a regional producer right now who does about $50 million in revenue, and he actually has 300 buyers and another 80 producers who it all combined together generate something that we call the B2B graph. And from this one customer, well, once we have them on board in the next 5 months, we'll be able to generate between $500 and $1.5 million in revenue. And this is just a tipping point for other similar-sized distributors, and we actually number that at about 2,000 in the United States to come on board. The industry for fresh produce in the United States is $1.22 billion, but the way our system's architected, we have a currency converter that actually allows us to be both geographically and currency agnostic. And so our entire goal right now is to capture the global inventory from small and mid-sized producers around the world to know exactly who has what, when, where, and for how much. And we have some competitors in our space who are all trying to connect buyers and sellers and capture inventory. But the difference between us and them, we believe, is that they're attacking small parts of the supply chain. For us as a whole, the way we've architected the system, we understand the pain points, and we've created a minimum viable product that allows every single player along the supply chain to come on board and take advantage of the fact of inventory visibility and price visibility. And so we've built what we think is a world-class team. All of us have domain and startup experience at a pretty high level. And I just wanted to pay special attention to our engineering team, and specifically our CTO, who came on board about 3 months ago. He was, at the time, the director of engineering at Salesforce for their core API and their security teams. And one of our big goals is moving forward is actually to create an enterprise tool. And so we feel very comfortable about actually scaling with the team that we have in place.
So up to this point, we've bootstrapped it, which just means we did it ourselves. We're looking to raise a small amount of money moving forward. We, at this point, believe with 1.5 million, we can scale within the next 24 months to 10 million in revenue and move forward from there. It's a huge market once again, and it's about scaling. Quick look at how we're going to break down the first round of funding. Pretty straightforward. We're really focusing on engineering, marketing, operations.
And our first ask is 1.5, and that takes us through the first year. Once we get our first customer on board with the wholesale distributor, we'll have enough revenue in place that we can actually sustain the team, and then from there we'll scale as needed. So, thank you.
So that's 10 million in aggregate value, or 10 million is your cut?
It's our cut. So scaled it up from 100 times the money coming through the system.
So wholesale buyers are your customers?
They're one of our customer segments, yeah.
How are you dealing with things like indemnity and gap certification and insurance, all that document flow that has to go from suppliers to broadliners?
Well, we have a platform that captures all the data from the farmer, and moving forward, we're both providing information for the requirements for gap, and we will be tracking as much of that as possible. That component will be an interaction between our company and the actual producer. One of the reasons that we're focused on that in particular is that small, mid-sized farmers, especially nationally, have a big problem selling into the larger supply chain because of the insurance problems. And we are committed to work with them to make sure that that certification is in place.
And we have partner organizations that we're working with here in the state of California that we're working directly with the farmers on these sorts of issues, and are committed to working with us to actually helping get their supply chain into getting their inventory into the greater supply chain. So we feel we have the domain expertise and with our partnership and on our team to actually address that issue.
So first of all, I really applaud you, because this is a big space, and waste is obviously a significant problem. And I love marketplaces, and obviously there's inefficiency here, and you're dealing with literally perishable inventory. I have a couple of questions. The first question is, what are the incentives for your supply as well as your demand? And who is paying freight? That is, who's actually paying for this? I think you answered part of my question in that it sounds like you're collecting 1% of the transaction. But that's question number one. And then I'd love to understand how you're addressing price optimization, supply optimization. How are you sort of gearing your marketplace to address that? Because I'd imagine that as this inventory becomes more perishable, and reaches its later stages in life, that you're going to want to move it more aggressively, and there will be flexibility in price. And so I'd just love to hear your thoughts on how the marketplace operates when it's up to scale?
Great questions. The first one is, what is the benefit to our suppliers, meaning small, mid-sized producers? We're focused on farmers, fishermen, cattlemen, butchers, all the way through to retail butchers. Mm-hmm. The benefit is that once that information is captured from the seller, we're actually syndicating that to the different buyers. And if somebody's growing up in Capay Valley, Northern California, and there's a buyer in San Francisco, but that farmer's not actually driving it there, we can let the buyer know if it's at an aggregation point, if it's at a wholesaler that has picked it up or a distributor, and we are in effect syndicating that. On the buyer's side, we're very focused on finding them the best producers for their needs, and the way we do that is the moment we capture the data from the producers, it's pushed all the way through to the actual buyer's module. We're very, very buyer-centric. I know we've talked more about the suppliers at this point, but we're absolutely geared at the buying and focused on the demand at this point.
And if you're considering the logistical question, we're very respectful of the current logistical movement of goods through the system. And so the way we're trying to connect the different inventory information is to actually utilize the current supply chain. So from the jobber to the wholesalers who actually pick up the product and actually move the product to our end buyers, the benefit here to them is they actually get a significant amount of inventory visibility that currently doesn't exist, and it's currently contingent upon them picking up the phone and calling people and asking them, what do you have?
The only way to capture it, to impact logistics, is to capture the data first and then address the data.
So you're focusing on demand first rather than supply?
Our system can handle both ways. We are because we're we're trying to create a network effect, and we have the chicken and egg situation. We're focused on buyers, capturing what the buyers need, aggregating the immediate supply to them.
Uh-huh.
And our concentration on intermediaries right now, the wholesalers, the jobbers, the food hubs, those sorts of individuals have already pre-established buyer and seller relationships in the system. And so for them, we're adding the value of making their life a little bit easier when it comes to understanding what's available. And we're not trying to recreate the egg between trying to get new people to sell to new buyers. We'll eventually do that once we have enough inventory in the system to actually establish the real and full network. But right now, we're just kind of, again, respecting the established relationships as they exist.
So this is perhaps unsolicited. Oh, we're out of time. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Seems to me without getting the supply first.
All right, and next up we have Guillaume Virag and Victor Kamba-Weiss from Project Alba.
All right, hello everyone, and thank you Jason and Robert for inviting us to LA. My name is Victor Kamba-Weiss.
My name is Guillaume Virag.
We are founders of Project Alba. So we do partnership farming in developing countries. All right, so why do we do that? Well, we observe that in southern countries, most people are farmers, and they have a huge potential to improve what they do. So why is that? Because what they do is actually very badly done. Usually, farmers, like in Cambodia, usually do only one type of crop. It is rice in Cambodia, and with very low productivity. On average, a typical Cambodian farmer produces only 1 ton of rice per year. We see in this a very big untapped potential, which is actually illustrated by the fact that their income is very low. Oh, sorry. So what we found incredible when we went directly there is that at the same time, sometimes in the same countries, on the market side, you have very big supply problems with products that are very bad quality and very, very high prices. To give you an example, the price for tomatoes in Cambodia ranges from $2 to $7 per kilo. Now, why do you have such a big disconnect between the demand and the production? Why isn't the situation changing by itself? Several reasons for that. The first one is that farmers don't have the finance or the capital to buy the tools that would enable them to do new crops. Second, even if they had, they don't have the techniques to grow these crops, and it's kind of essential to have the techniques. And third point, they don't even have the time, the transportation, or the analysis capacities to know what are the market opportunities on this or that market.
Okay, so the solution that we bring to such a situation in developing countries is called partnership farming. So partnership farming is a deeper involvement from the buyer into the production than contract farming. Okay, so we, the buyers, when we sign a partnership with farmers, we say we'll bring for free tools and inputs. We'll send an agricultural advisor 3 times a week directly into the field. We guarantee that we'll buy all the production at prices fixed at sowing. Together with the farmer, we choose crops and we plan for sowings. The farmer just guarantees that he'll sell to us 100% of his production. Okay, so let's take an example. Let's say you're a farmer. Day 1, we sign with you. Day 2, we choose the crop. Let's say day 7, you start sowing. We bring the agricultural advisor to your field to teach you the techniques that you don't already know. We bring an irrigation system for free, and we bring all seeds, fertilizers required to grow. Day 80, you harvest. If it's lettuces, for example, we buy what you basically have harvested, and we sell it to wholesalers. Okay, so in such a model, the fact that we work very closely with the farmer allows us to optimize our product choice weekly, and that allows us to get really good prices on the demand side. And that allows us to have ×2 income for the farmer while lowering their risk, while keeping margin at 60% for our company.
All right, so where are we in this process? Well, we implemented this model with 50 farmers in Cambodia. We are working on cash crops, such as vegetables, at the moment. We raised $500,000 in seed funding last year. We are now about to close on a $1 million round to get all our technology straight before scaling. Our team is now made up of 20 people with skills in ag, IT, and process building. We're 4 expats, and the rest is actually Cambodian. We also have an advisory board with experienced entrepreneurs as well as Cambodian specialists. So that's it. Our ambition ultimately is to scale up to hundreds of millions of farmers in all southern countries. So that's it. We're Project Alba, and we do partnership farming. Thank you for your attention.
So you put up the capital to sort of get them going, and tell me about that arrangement. Do you have a line of credit with a bank, and how does that work, or how do you think about that?
So if I get it right, how do we ourselves finance the investments per farmer?
Yeah.
So that's a good question.
Thank you.
The way we are doing it right now is based on our own funds, which is why we had to raise equity. In the long run, we can optimize our use of capital thanks to short-term loans, actually.
You get paid when you sell the food after you've supported the farm through the production cycle?
Yes. So basically,
who are your customers?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Who are your customers at the end of the cycle?
So basically, we have like twofold approach on customers. Obviously, the people that pay to us in the end are the demand side, so wholesalers, okay, in the country, in Cambodia. But we treat also our farmers as customers because they are definitely like one pieces of the puzzle we cannot do without.
And how do you deal with crop failure?
Sorry?
Crop failure. Like
So-
one farmer just completely fails to deliver any yield.
So our partnership model is still a purchasing one, which means farmers are paid with a price per kilo. So if the farmer completely loses his yield, we don't buy anything, he doesn't get income.
But you've made the investment in him.
Yes. So our model is not per cycle. It's an investment per farmer, and he sows every week with a quantity that is calculated according to his available labor and also his available land size, and then harvests every week. So we did this. That was actually our first innovation, so that we smooth our output and lower this risk of losing everything. And also the farmer keeps a long-term incentive.
Plus, basically, we are working with small-scale farmers, so they are geographically dispersed. So basically, when one is failing, we still are mitigating the risk with the amount of farmers that we work with.
So this is very impressive. And I have two questions. The first question is at the tail end of the process, which is basically you're guaranteeing a price per kilo.
Yes.
There's an arbitrage between what you think you can sell that for to the wholesalers, and I'm curious what the economics look like. And then my second question is, given that you're working with very small local, farming communities and individual farmers, how scalable do you really believe this is?
So, for the first question, we still haven't broke down each parts of the model, what is about arbitraging, what is about cost, etc. But we basically have margins that are over 60%. So we can allow not too much breaking down everything right now. The reason for this is we really choose parts of the supply chain that are really broken. And in such countries, there obviously are a lot. It's really crazy prices that we can have in such countries. About the scaling part, it definitely is human intensive also on our side, especially because we need to have a lot of agricultural advisor on the field. So definitely on a regional aspect of it, if we keep in one country, we can make it because very fast we learn about how to process recruitment in such a country, how to deal with the market also. As soon as we go international, we'll learn also how to process the fact of entering a new country, which is more complicated, clearly.
Maybe another way to put it is we come from, our background is about startups, so we see everything in that way. And we build our technology, that's what we're doing right now. And our technology is about how do you handle a production which is distributed across many very small pieces of land and automating everything based on processes, basically code that instead of a computer execution, you have people following it. And that's the way we want to scale, making things as automatic as possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stop barking. All right, now our last pitcher, Chad Sykes of Indore Harvest. All right.
Oh, yeah. Where's the little clicker at? All right. Okay. All right. We're Indore Harvest. My name's Chad, and I'm the CEO and founder. We're pretty much a very early stage company at this point. We're in the R&D phase. We're self-funded. We have our own investors, and myself is investing in this project. What we're doing is we're developing a platform technology for aeroponics. Basically, what we're looking at, our market, is a very narrow market, very, very narrow. It's the salad industry for restaurants, soups and salads, whatever. But the plan is to develop, I'm a little nervous, the plan is to develop aeroponic systems to basically grow strictly the leafy greens, microgreens, and herbs needed for salads do it in a sealed environment, closed environment, and then basically just sell that to restaurants directly. That's one of the fastest growing niches in this whole industry right now. It's small entrepreneurs who have gone from basically hobby systems, who've scaled up a little bit on their own, and then now they're selling leafy greens and herbs to restaurants, and they're doing really well. It's probably out of all the vertical farming technologies out there right now, it's the fastest growing industry. Why did we choose aeroponics? There's been hardly any talk about aeroponics during the conference. So why did we choose aeroponics? Number one, we've talked a lot about water. Aeroponics uses almost no water. 90% reduction in water. For giving an example, the UN did a report on lettuce. 1 pound, one head of lettuce, 1 pound takes 16 gallons to grow. Aquaponics, hydroponics could do it in about 5 to 6 gallons. We can do it drain to waste, not recirculating. We can do it drain to waste for 3.4 gallons. If you recirculate it, you're almost no water usage at all. 60% reduction in nutrients, stimulated crop growth, higher density yields, higher nutritional values. And here's another key thing, no pesticides, no chemicals, period, because we're in a sealed environment. In year-round farming, too. So what's so special about our system? What makes us different than your general Botanicare system or your general hydroponic system? It's the fact that it's not a system. When you build your bathroom, for example, you don't buy a bathroom system. You buy fixtures. You buy a toilet. You buy a tub. You buy a faucet. So our system's been designed modularly so that we basically sell trays, manifolds, lids, pumps. Basically, it's been designed around construction industry techniques. So we make parts that then people can then build modular systems. They can stack them however they want. So it's mainly designed from a commercial mechanical construction point of view, not from a system point of view. So the person who uses the system isn't stuck with that design parameter of that system. They can do anything they want. This system here will do low-pressure aeroponics, high-pressure aeroponics, air-assisted aeroponics. So you can do whatever the grower wants to do. It's very versatile. You can grow microgreens using a batting material as opposed to a solid lid. So it's pretty unique system in that. So what can we grow? Basically, it's going to be herbs, leafy greens, and microgreens. Strictly that. We're not going to be trying to grow anything that produces fruit or anything like that. If we need to source that, we can source that locally from other urban growers. But the focus is basically pre-packaged salad mixes for high-end restaurants, because the type of produce that this system develops it's spotless. It's like laboratory, grade produce. To give you an example of how the system works, this is basil 23 days after germination. So if you got any basil growers out there, you can see that the growth is pretty big. I mean, you got basil leaves almost the size of the palm of your hand after 23 days of germination. So that's, any basil growers out there will know that's pretty impressive. Who are our potential customers? Like I said, we have right now the fastest growing industry are these types of people who are growing small. They're small growers, less than 5,000 square feet operations, and they're growing for local markets to sell to restaurants. So it's a very quick growing market, but the problem is there's nobody manufacturing equipment specific for them. It's either the hobby systems or the big vertical farming systems, which they're really not selling anything anyway. So it's a middle market kind of thing. Experience. Investors always want to know about the experience. Well, this is where I kind of pride myself. My background is from mechanical construction, doing mechanical design builds, big plant systems, things like that. So I basically developed this system. Did project management for mechanical systems. I'm also a veteran. That sells a lot to combat tours to Iraq. I'm an investor as well. I do my own investing, mainly in Chinese agriculture. And I run a public and investor relations firm. Oh, well, I have way too much to say, so sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't even get to it's just the plans are so big that it's hard to get it all squeezed in there.
Quick question, do you have any intellectual property, any defensibility of the technology?
The only thing that we're actually planning on developing the system is open source. So the only thing that we're going to patent is the tray. Everything else is open source. And the reason we want to do open source is because we believe that will bring this industry, it'll develop faster. Because if you try to lock down your technology, you're locking out other people. And so this industry is big enough to share. So that we're trying to make it open source.
How big do you think the industry is? What's your addressable market for this type?
Oh, it's a $1 billion market, the green, leafy greens market for restaurants.
But specifically for your product, for people buying aeroponic technology?
It's a very, very early stage industry. It's just getting formed. I mean, I've promoted 6 publicly traded companies, so we've been a lot in getting these things going in the early stages, and this is a particular industry that we think is just now starting to take off. So that's why we're putting the money into doing it.
Interesting.
Well, thank you.
I wonder if you, will end up having more of a sort of a, products or services industry or products or services business where you sell them the modular kits as you describe them.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we can do the manufacturing first, then, and I'm not cheating, am I? We can do the manufacturing first, which is what we're working on right now, and I'm fully funded to get the manufacturing done, to get the retailing side done. So we can do that, then we can, from the investment point of view, we can do the demonstration farm. If we can do the demonstration farm, then we can show the process works, which is what we're doing right now is proof of concept. And so far, the numbers are out of the world. And you do the demonstration farm, then you can franchise it, you can be a developer, you can do consulting.
Yeah, it's kind of where I was going, which is the franchise opportunity for people who love to garden, don't have the capability or know how to sell to high-end restaurants. You give them a kit, say, hey, you grow this stuff in your basement or wherever.
You could
and you can make money doing it, selling to restaurants. You might find that you end up sort of going more that route.
That's one of the ideas we had. I mean, really, it's going to be where we gain traction. I mean, I don't know really where we're going to go with this. We're still in the R&D phase, so where we gain traction is the direction we'll go. Yeah. Yes.
You talked about salad greens and herbs. Does it work for marijuana at all?
Of course. and in fact, if we can't gain traction on the produce side, I have no doubts whatsoever that my investment I will get my return on investment selling to marijuana growers. I have absolutely no worries about that.
There's a huge market, and it's opening up
and there's no,
so.
To give you an idea, when it comes to aeroponics, the only true aeroponic commercial system on the market today is $400 per square foot. And it's made by a company called Biocontrols. Ours is going to be under $50 a square foot.
So can you just be a little more specific about your business model? Because it sounds like you have 2 directions that you're thinking about. One is the retailing piece. The other is moving more towards a franchise or service model. And from this chart, it seems that you're thinking more about that direction. Is that?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to be taking the company public. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to talk too much about it. My background is in promoting public companies, so I have a lot of doing the S1 registration process.
Right, but I'm not talking about whether you're going to be a public company or not.
Well, I'm
trying to figure out how you make money. Or how do you make the most money?
The first thing in the platform technology is to develop the technology itself. And then from there, we know we can sell it on a retail level, right? But then we can also sell it by building demonstration farms. So imagine microbreweries is a good example. Remember the microbreweries where you could go in and sit down and have a beer?
I get it.
It's the same concept where you can go in. It's just like instead of a microbrewery, it's like a micro farm. You can go in and eat salads, or you can sell wholesale salads but as far as where we're going, I'm going to be honest with you. It's such a young industry that we're not really sure where it's going to gain traction yet. So we're doing it in steps. If you kind of notice, I mean, we're doing it in steps to see where it'll gain traction and then go from there. We're leaving it open, basically.
We're good.
Good.
Good job.
Thank you.